to blow, and I've been caught in the undertow. So toxic, but I can't get enough. You're burying me, burying me. Yeah, you're burying me, burying me. You've got me hypnotized. Push me out of myself. You've got me hypnotized. Whoa. I can see, I can hear, going crazy for the luck. It's got me hypnotized. You've got me hypnotized. I'm never gonna look back, 'cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast, and that's facts. Only I can make a change. Slowly take a step today. I will never be the same, 'cause that's what it takes.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talking Takeover. I am OLED Ed Fries, and I'm joined by the lovely and talented natural Astrid Bizarro. And Astrid, we're finally here. Last week was a bit of an appetizer for a rival, but now we're here. Takeover has officially begun. We're at NXT Takeover, an idea that they thought was going to be a one-time thing. They didn't think that they were going to continue calling it Takeover when they did it originally. What did you think as an overall of Takeover versus a rival?
That's a tough one. Is I feel like if I were to divide it, I feel like I like the second half of both shows, but the beginning I could do without, if that makes sense. No versus Sami Cesaro, that's the only match I would take off from the other one. But like the second half is when I'm like, okay, now I'm intrigued. Now you got me. But the beginning, I'm like, I don't know how I was watching this when it was live.
We're still in the early days of Takeover. Like literally, This is the first ever NXT Takeover. Mm-hmm. They haven't figured out the model that will become the Takeover model. At this point, NXT is still primarily, first and foremost, a developmental program. This is meant to develop young stars and produce stars of the future. It was not meant to showcase the best and most talented that are in the NXT locker room. And that is prime and foremost when we start talking about the matches on this card. Because there's going to be a jump from the things that are on this card to what shows up next time we're live when we talk about NXT. And really, it's so weird because they decided to do this, and they should have done this on the fourth one. They should have done other names to get here. They decided to do NXT Fatal 4-Way as the second Takeover, and it should have been the fourth. But we're getting ahead of ourselves talking about Fatal 4-Way because we've got a Takeover here to talk about. My thing about this is the first time I've rewatched Takeover, the original. Mm-hmm. And it's the first time that I realized, God, they didn't put enough into the production of these takeovers yet. Because all of these matches could have done with some video packages. Yep. They gave us video packages on every single member of, the next month. They're going to give us vignettes on every single member of the Fatal 4-Way match. But I really could have used a 2-minute, this is how we got here for some of these matches. And it's going to continue for the foreseeable future. There's going to be a lot of these where it's like, I really wish they'd give us a bit of story. How we got here. Like, WWE is really good about it. Like, even right now on Peacock. We don't see it because I don't pay for the Peacock Premium Plus where they have it. But they'll say, like, we're going to go ahead and take an ad break, but for those with Peacock Plus, here's the background on how we got from here to here. Mm-hmm. Every pay-per-view, they do it. I just wish we'd have that here.
Yeah, it feels weird because when I think about the matches, I'm like, how? Why is this happening? And it's like, I wish I would just do that for the people. Not, I wasn't say for us because we were watching it before, but for the people that don't know about NXT and decide all of a sudden, let me go watch it from the beginning, see what this was like. They don't know the whole story. And it just feels like they definitely need to fill in some, like, it feels like plot holes, if you want to put it like that.
Yeah.
to like give you the complete story, because I was like watching this, I was like, why is Adam Rose going against Camacho? That sounds so freaking weird to me. And it's like,
That's the one match they gave us background to. Like they've been fighting for like 2 months now, and it's like
yeah,
it's
but it
hard.
just feels like,
It's also hard to believe how quickly in these early days NXT turns over the people on their takeover cards. Like right now, takeover is similar guys getting similar opportunities most months out of the year when we have a premium live event. At this point, it was who the fuck knows who's going on that takeover card. Pre and foremost, you talked about it. Let's go ahead and start with it. Adam Rose versus Camacho. And one of the things we always have to talk about when we talk about early day Adam Rose is he has the rosebuds.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, rosebuds. That's nothing. That's no big deal. That's not important. Well, I'm going to go ahead and freeze frame this. It's a bad freeze frame. No. Becky, stop moving. I just kind of blew what I was about to do, but I can't get a frame of it. In this one, front and foremost in Adam Rose's thing of rosebuds is in a blue tutu, Becky Lynch. In this crew, we will also see Simon Gotch, Braun Strowman, and Alexa Bliss.
and Carmella.
Oh, is Carmella the bunny?
Purple outfit? Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it's the purple outfit.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I think hold on. I think I had was it somebody else that I had?
No, the purple outfit. Oh yeah, it is Carmella. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I do apologize. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know that
it's
obviously.
amazing.
Yeah, think about it, it's a lot more people, but for that one, that's all I can remember at least.
And remember, these people will constantly change. They'll go in and out. But these are the ones that we'll continue to see for the foreseeable future. We'll stop seeing Carmella after next month because, well, we'll get to that when we talk about the next show. But sorry, I watched Fatal 4-Way and it's such a much better show than this, and I really want to talk about Fatal 4-Way now.
Hold off on.
But no, Adam Rose versus Camacho. It's a match. It's fine. I thought Adam Rose was great. The problem with Adam Rose is he's an indie gimmick come to life. This gimmick is fantastic for what they had, which is put him on NXT and go ahead and let him go. We thank you very much from the Roundtable Pro Wrestling Podcast. Thank you very much. We appreciate you guys stopping in and saying hello. Make sure to go ahead and check out their content when you get the opportunity. They are fantastic people doing some good work. But yeah, Adam Rose versus Camacho isn't a whole lot to sink your teeth into. Oh, by the way, Eden Styles is back once again, being as bland and personalityless as she always is. Like, even this, Adam Rose is trying to get her to do something, and she's just
stiff.
I feel like she's a member of Imperium. She's just standing there, straight to the board. And then, with all the life and vigor, comes Camacho. A man who, if you're watching him on WWE television, as opposed to NXT, he's coming out on a bicycle. But we're going to do the where are they now here, because I feel like it's important to note. Camacho is a very important, interesting figure in NXT history. Because NXT will always be the, oh, he was there and did that thing of his career. The reason why is, for those that don't know who Camacho is now, he is Tangaloa of the Gorillas of Destiny, who was playing a Mexican.
Yep.
So, just so we're clear, we now have, they're not the same family as the Anawahi family, but they're the same general portion of the world. He's Polynesian Hawaiian as opposed to Samoan like the Anawahi family. But we had an Anawahi playing a Japanese dude, seamlessly, by the way, I mind you. Nobody ever questioned whether or not Yokozuna was a Japanese man. I never once questioned the fact. Like, I knew he didn't look Japanese, but it didn't ever occur to me that he might not be Japanese. Same with Camacho. Looking back and seeing who he is now and his heritage now, never once questioned the fact that he wasn't Mexican. He
He looks
dark.
Hispanic. Yeah, he looks
He
Hispanic.
does. Dark skin, great guy. He spoke Spanish, which
Curly
again
hair.
isn't exactly a hard feat to do, speak Spanish. But he's a fan. Even here, you can watch him. He's intent. He's a fantastic talent. He's a fantastic wrestler. How nothing ever came with this, other than the gimmick was garbage, is kind of lost on me, because you can see it here that there's something there. He's got that it factor. Because I know WWE loves Adam Rose, and the fans, as I'm watching, I have the match on right now on my TV over here. The fans are still chanting the ooh wah wah ah for Adam Rose, because of course, give wrestling fans a catchy song, they'll sing it forever. Fandango. I saw Fandango in an indie event about a month ago. They're still fandangoing when Fandango comes out.
Oh, yeah.
We were singing the song while the match was going on when Fandango was in the ring. Why? Because it's a fun and catchy thing. Look at Seth Rollins. I hate Seth Rollins more and more every day because of the fact the fans won't shut up with his stupid song. I can't wait for him to get a new song that doesn't have a sing-along.
No.
What are your thoughts on Adam Rose versus Camacho here?
Was first thinking of Camacho's as we talked about the background. It just reminded me a lot of what we talk about NXT on a weekly basis, how authentic it is now compared to how it was. And this was just like a huge example how drastic this is, because when I first saw him, I really thought he was Hispanic. And then when I see him later in New Japan with the GOD, I'm like, what? You lied to me? It's one of those things, like, it takes you a while to like connect the dots. But also on the history side for me, when it comes to Adam Rose, I had gone to a live event with my dad, and at that moment, I believe either he had just started being on TV or he was going to soon, but he had the crowd already going with the dancing and all that stuff. And I looked at my dad, I was like, I'm lost, because I hadn't seen him on TV yet, I believe. Or maybe he had just started and I hadn't seen it, but it was around that time. And I looked at him and I kept thinking, this guy looks so freaking familiar. Where have I seen him before? And I was like, there's something to him. And I had to Google Adam Rose at that moment, only to find that he was Leo Kruger before in FCW. And I was like, I showed my dad the picture and I went, how is that the same person? Because I knew Leo Kruger. I had seen Leo Kruger. I had never seen Adam Rose. And it's just like, who, what, how? And he's like, it took me a while to get used to seeing him as Adam Rose, because I saw him as his like bulky guy being Leo Kruger that he was. So it took some adjustment for me to see him as the party guy with the rosebuds and everything. Yeah, so that it took a lot of getting used to. And speaking of the rosebuds, to mention a couple of the ones we see later, like people like Zelina Vega used to do it a while. She said that she used to go drive from New York to Florida quite often just to be able to do this, because she wanted to show how passionate she was about this. And you can see her in the background quite often. And if you had seen my interview with Gigi Ray before, Gigi Ray was one of the rosebuds once before as well. And I brought that up to her because I saw her Instagram at that moment. So kudos to you if you find Gigi Ray in one of the clips. You'll see. But it's just fun. For me, the fun part was always looking later at the people and be like, that's this one, that's that one, that's this one, that's that one. And to see where they are now compared to being rosebuds, and where Adam Rose is not on TV, but they are. It's just so weird to think about later. But it's fun. You get to see and then not only that, but I kept wanting to see who the bunny was, because I was hoping it would be somebody that we knew as well. And I kept thinking about that as every time we saw the bunny. But again, I just it was always fun to do that. Yeah, if you were in Full Sail, you were always singing the song, because one of the things, it's like No Way Jose. It was more about the atmosphere and how it felt around with him, rather than the matches in itself. Because if you look at the match, nothing really special happens in it. To be honest, it's more about the good time that you have with the theme song. And then again, seeing that here, I knew this was one of those that it wouldn't translate very well with a bigger crowd when you put in the main roster as it was in Full Sail. And this was one of those examples with this one as well.
Yeah, and it was quickly proven Adam Rose was an absolute flop on the main roster. It didn't get over. Same way No Way Jose didn't get over on the main roster.
Yeah.
There are certain things that work in Full Sail. There are certain things that work in the indie wrestling world that will not work for live televised wrestling. It will not work for an arena full of 40,000 people. The song will work, but the gimmick won't. And Leo Kruger, if I remember, was a South African gimmick that he did. By the way, he would, in the Where Are They Now section, he would go back to Leo Kruger and bounce between that and Adam Rose after he left WWE. He put out a shirt that had a mugshot on him, as he was apparently in some hot water for that one, for potentially having some domestic abuse issues, but he credits his wife for the idea to put out the shirt. Pro Wrestling Tees does not agree, and they took it off the website. He retired from professional wrestling in 2017. And of course, like I said, Tangaloa is doing wonderful things in New Japan. He had a stop in Impact after this. He's doing fantastic things. He's one of the most talented wrestlers in the world right now. And I think if WWE could get Guerrillas of Destiny even now, it would be a massive benefit to them. Ironically, he was a Florida Championship Wrestling. He was a tag team partner with CJ Parker, who will both be in the Bullet Club at one point or another. Never together, but they are both members of the Bullet Club. Mm-hmm. We move on to a backstage, the video package about Sami Zayn and Cesaro, and about Sami and where he goes from here as he competes later on for the number one contender spot with Tyler Breeze in a little bit. But first, in our Ascension squash match of the evening, the Ascension take on, and I teased this before, Kalisto making his NXT debut, ish debut. It's his takeover. It's his premium live event debut. Mm-hmm. But in his tag team partner, El Local. El Local, for those that don't know, was the personal ring announcer for one of the shittiest people in the world, Alberto Del Rio. Yes, Ricardo Rodriguez himself was El Local. The funny thing about this is, and this is coming straight from Wikipedia, which means that, of course, is the greatest place for information because anybody can edit it, and it must always be true. Rodriguez started to wrestle as the masked luchador El Local, who remained distinct from his ring announcer character, debuting on November 3rd episode of Saturday Morning Slam in a loss to Sin Cara. In late 2023, El Local began teaming up with another masked competitor, who was Tyson Kidd, who we'll talk about later, to make up the tag team Los Locals, a team that never won a match.
How creative.
During this time, Rodriguez became a commentary for the Spanish broadcast team for pay-per-views, which is why they couldn't win, because they couldn't have him do both commentary and be in the ring, and they didn't want to have to explain why they took a voice off the Spanish announce team. In 2024, Rodriguez formed a tag team with a debuting Kalisto against the Legionnaires, who we'll talk about next time. And then he teamed with Kalisto here. He was then released about a month or so after the show on July 30th, 2014.
I was going to say, you said 2024. I was going to say, holy crap, what? I was like, what did I miss there? No, it's 2014.
No. Yeah, 2014. I do want to point this out, though. We're going to do his Where Are They Now? Because he's the only one that needs a What Are They Now? Where Are They Doing Now? This is the funniest thing. He has a 2-line, 1-sentence. There are 2 sentences. I apologize. For his time at All Elite Wrestling in 2021. On October 27th, 2021, Rodriguez worked as a Spanish commentator for All Elite Wrestling, taking the place left of Willie Urbina, who was fired due to racist remarks he made about Japanese wrestler Hikaru Shida. Mm-hmm. He would appear at only 1 taping before they got rid of him. He wasn't only bad at commentary in WWE, he was apparently so bad at All Elite Wrestling, he made it 1 show. By the way, if you want to learn how to wrestle, apparently he runs a place called Three Legacies Wrestling Academy. I don't know what legacies those might be, because it sure as hell isn't his. in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So, all right, the Ascension versus Kalisto and El Local. Anything to say about Kalisto's great? Like,
yeah.
Like I feel like WWE missed the boat. I understand the I do good lucha spot or whatever the hell the line was that he did with the US title when he had a backstage segment and he just completely spaced on what he was supposed to say and I do good lucha things, I think it was the line. That is him, right? That is Kalisto. I'm remembering the right person, right?
I'm gonna have to go back.
He is, that's the right flippy dude guy, right? In the Spanish. Well, they had like 3 of them at that point because that was when they had Lince Dorado, Kalisto, and Sin Cara. Not the first Sin Cara, the second Sin Cara.
I'm trying to remember what it points up. I'll remember later.
Either way, this is a great match for the Ascension because they get to beat up little guys and just get to throw them around.
Yeah, I think my favorite part about it was towards the beginning though, because they almost do it in sync, almost, but not really. It's a double takedown they're doing the Ascension when they slide out of the ring, and I was like, okay, that was not bad. But then the Ascension does their uppercuts at the same time when they're about to do a dive, and I was like, now that was better. Not real bad. But again, it just makes me think of, for example, we have somebody like Rey Mysterio. And if you think about it, in this time, we have nobody like Mysterio to like kind of give us that legacy because obviously Dragon Lee was not here at that moment. So I know WWE is always thinking of like the future in itself of like we're not gonna have Rey Mysterio here all the time. So who can we have that can continue on this like lucha kind of legacy and give us the same thing that Mysterio gives us? And I think Kalisto would have been that person because I feel like out of the group, he's the one that spoke the most English and everything. So if anything, he would have been the one to like get that spotlight. Because with Sin Cara the way it was like, it was like they flipped on him, and then the injuries and all that stuff, and then changing people that didn't help. Grand Metalik, I don't think he speaks a lot of English either. So just like in Lince Dorado is like kind of half and half. It would have been the next one as well, but I feel like at this time, Kalisto would have been that person. And I feel like I would have pushed harder for him to kind of continue on that Mysterio legacy of bringing Lucha, to life, to say it like that. I'm glad now that we have somebody like Dragon Lee who can live up to that expectation, to put it like that, fill those shoes when Mysterio does leave. I feel like Dragon Lee will be able to do something like this. And then obviously now we have Legado, the Fantasma, and LWO that can also fill in those gaps as well in there. So it's not just one person. Being that one Hispanic market, it's a lot broader now than how it used to be. So that's something that I always thought about when it came to Kalisto. It's like, I loved how he looked, and I love how the crowd connected to him, but I just felt like they never like pushed him the way they should have to like cover those shoes, to put it like that.
WWE was always looking for their in the Latin market beyond just Rey Mysterio. And again, I'll trash him to the end of the days because he's a terrible, terrible, horrible person. But Alberto Del Rio came really close. Mm-hmm. They wanted Alberto, and they gave him every opportunity. And to be honest with you, during his time in WWE, he was doing a really good job of it. Like, take the person who they are outside of it. Yep. Alberto Del Rio's wrestling character is really good. What it was back then. He was this larger than life, aristocrat, Spanish aristocrat. His father was I forget what his father's name is. They always would mention it. I can never remember it.
Is it Mil Máscaras, I think?
No, that's his uncle. I know, but his dad had something else. It was like Don something or other. And I can't remember what the name of it is off the top of my head. But they always wanted him to be that next star. And he was never going to do it as a babyface, but they knew they could make him a heel. And at least that way would give... Because one of the things you do in television and in wrestling is you want everybody to see themselves in somebody on the roster. Like you've talked about. When you see Zelina Vega, when you see AJ Lee, these are people who you look at and you go, I see a bit of myself in them. When you see Damian Priest, when you see Bad Bunny, these are people who grew up where I grew up. I see a bit of myself in them. Mm-hmm. They wanted that for the Latin community back at this time. Alberto Del Rio. They bring in Sin Cara twice. They bring in 2 Spanish wrestlers to be Sin Cara because their first one couldn't do what they needed him to do. You talked about Kalisto. You talked about Lince Dorado. You talked about Grand Metalik. WWE is constantly trying to find that in the Latin market. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like we talk about what they did with Jinder. Yes, Jinder's world title run was solely because they wanted to capitalize on the Indian market.
Mm-hmm.
That's not necessarily a bad thing. Yes, it's bad market. It's solely marketing. But at the end of the day, it's okay to try to market to a specific demographic when you get the chance, if they're worthy of it, if they have the talent, if they have the ability. And the problem with Jinder's first run as champion wasn't that he didn't have the talent to be a world champion, is that the story wasn't built properly to make him a credible world champion, and thus it made it a joke. But if they had done it right, I think that could have worked. And they tried it over and over and over again with the Latin community. And even here, they're starting to groom that next crop. And now they're doing it again. Like you said, Santos Escobar. You mentioned specifically Dragon Lee. I'll go immediately to Santos Escobar.
Yeah.
They have been grooming Santos Escobar from the beginning to be the one to take over for Rey Mysterio.
Mm-hmm.
They brought in Dragon Lee because they got the opportunity to take him, and they'll be more than happy to make him the future of Lucha Libre too. But Santos was there first, and Santos is the one that had that segment with Babyface Dom and Babyface Ray, where as a heel, I thought we were going to get Dom versus Santos for Rey Mysterio's mask. I thought that was going to be the big match that Dom was going to have as a babyface. And I still think that match may happen someday.
Mm-hmm.
But Dom has done. Rhea Ripley has made Dom such a different superstar that he's no longer the future of Lucha Libre. He's just the future of the Mysterio name, in a different way, in a different time, in a different place. It's not going to be Lucha Libre for Dominic Mysterio. It's going to be something completely different, and I'm excited for him for that. All that to say that we didn't care about this match, and we wanted to talk about other things, anything else that wasn't this match. The Ascension win, it didn't take long. Moving on. We get a video package for Tyler Breeze. We get a video pack. We get the entrance for Tyler Breeze. And for those asking, we now finally have the, oh my God, it's Tyler. The whole package is here. Hello, Omen fan. Thank you for joining us. We greatly appreciate it.
Hi, Eric.
We also have, if I remember correctly, let me just play it.
Yeah, this is the theme song.
Yes, we have the Sami Zayn Let's Go theme song.
Yeah.
It's the ska one. He's dancing around. He's still got the same tights as last time, so we love that. We love seeing her. Well, he didn't scare us. Not this time. Maybe next time. Keep trying.
For this one too, when the Tyler video package is Alexa Bliss in there, and I was like, she looks like such a baby compared to now too.
Next month we'll see Dana Brooke in a Tyler Breeze spot. I noticed a very different looking Dana Brooke, as I will continue to say that it was the other Dana Brooke, and it was not the Dana Brooke we currently have. It's not Ash by Excellence. Yes, I have a conspiracy theory for those that haven't heard it before, that there are multiple Dana Brooks that were presented to us by WWE. Because the one that we saw in NXT is not the one that we ever saw on the main roster later on. Not in the beginning it was, but then she went away for a while and she came back and she looked it's not like, oh, she got a little bit of work done and looks different. She looks completely different. But anyways, we get away from this because this is a great match. Tyler Breeze. How they botched Tyler Breeze, I'll never know. How Vince McMahon botched this, I still to this day don't get it.
Yeah, this is one of those, like, it's kind of like CJ Parker for me as well. I feel like they could have done so much with him. And it's like when I think about Tyler Breeze, I think more about NXT than I do like WWE as a whole, if that makes sense. Like, that's how I think about it. And I was like, how did he not translate that to like the main roster? And it's like, I feel like I would have loved to see more of him like that. And I was like, I keep thinking of the Fashion Files, but it was like a short period of time compared to this NXT run. So it was like, I think more of NXT for him. And I was like, how? I was like, he was so entertaining in such a different way, especially like, I know I obviously being influencer, but like seeing him being like that model, the way he brings it up and every single conversation, he's so in character what he's doing it. The phone as well. Yes, it's obviously 10 years ago, so the phone looks a lot tinier than what it is now. But seeing the entrance, like in the background as well, the Titatron as he's walking down, and it's like from the theme song to the posing, so many things about him. And I was like, he was so entertaining. Like, what the heck happened? And it's like, it's kind of weird when you think about it now, where just like you think about up, up, down, down when you see Tyler Breeze rather than anything else as a wrestler. It's like, that's terrible to think about.
Like, just for a second, just go with me on this. Like, I'm not going to play the audio because we can't, but like, this is a star right here.
Mm-hmm.
He's still new at this. Like, this is still early days because he didn't have this the last time we saw him. So we're within the first 2-3 months of this gimmick. And he's just, this is an it factor, all written all over it. Just absolute it factor. The camera, I know you won't know this, but in the early days of Shawn Michaels' career, Sensational Sherry, who was then referred to as Scary Sherry, used to follow him with a mirror, a legit mirror, a full-length mirror. She would walk backwards down the aisle with this mirror so he could continue to look at himself the whole way down to the ring. This is exactly what this gimmick is, except for the fact that it's using technology as opposed to having the mirror. But he was essentially a version of Shawn Michaels. His in-ring talent, like the beauty shot, is a super kick. It's a good super kick, don't get me wrong. Like, he didn't copy Shawn Michaels. Like, I'm not trying to sit here and say that Tyler Breeze copied Shawn Michaels in any way. I'm saying he made a version of a Shawn Michaels character surrounded by, like you said, the model character. And he epitomized that character. We talk about it with Ariana Grace. Imagine bringing... This is what I think they should do. I think Ariana Grace should have some issues at one point and be like, she's like, I needed my mentor. And she gets on the phone. And we all think she's calling Santino. And then one day, in walks Tyler Breeze in full Tyler Breeze attire, like the funny coat, the special bottoms with the tassels, the whole nine. And it's from his seasonal residence in. Like, I'm saying, go full 2014 Tyler Breeze and have him walk in and just start talking. It's not a long-term thing. It's one conversation. But tell me that wouldn't be a fantastic run. And he works for the company. Like, he's not a wrestling contracted wrestler, but he works for Up, Up, Down, Down. He works for them digitally. He doesn't wrestle, but to have him on television on a wrestling capacity wouldn't violate any of those contracts. As long as he doesn't step in the ring, it'll be fine. And I think that will get her so over by connecting her to this, because essentially it's a female version to an extent of what Tyler Breeze was doing. She's a beauty pageant instead of a model, but she loves herself and she can't not hear herself talk. And the idea that they would be friends to an extent, I think could be fun.
I think it's funny you bring him up because I bring her up, sorry. But I thought the same thing when I saw him. I was like, this reminds me of Ariana and like the way she acts with herself and how she's so in character. Exactly like him. And I thought about that too. And it's just incredible when you think about it, it's like how things translate or change a little bit with just one person is basically the same thing because she's so into herself the way he is. It just, yeah, I really enjoy this. And I enjoyed like Tyler's character. Just wish it would have been one of those like we would have seen a little bit more of though.
He's the gatekeeper. Like, he isn't now. He's still young and they still potentially going to put the title on him here. But eventually, Tyler Breeze will become the gatekeeper of NXT. Remember, in I think about a year or so from now, we're going to be able to review, and I can't believe I'm going to be able to say this, I'm going to be able to review a match having Jushin Thunder Liger in it. Because Tyler Breeze is the only WWE superstar who can say that on WWE's television, they wrestled Jushin Thunder Liger. The only other people who can say that are people who worked for WCW. Because that's the only other time he worked in the United States on television. It's just, there was so much promise for this character. And he came up at a time where he's going to get lost in the Takeover black and gold shuffle. Because as we start building here, these are the last few shows before black and gold starts taking over. Because once Sami becomes champion, that's my mark for this is black and gold. Mm-hmm. Because it's Sami becomes champion, Kevin turns on him, and NXT goes to another level. That one moment is the moment where NXT turns up the heat. Right now we're at a simmer. The water's bubbling. The water's boiling a little bit. But we're not ready to cook yet. And this match is a sign of it, because this match is fantastic. And these two will be main eventing next month with the two guys in the main event this month. Like, these four guys will be in a banger main event the next time we see, the next time we have Talking Takeover. And it's because this match is so good. There's nothing, but there's no pinpoint moment where this match is good. It's just a compelling wrestling match. You have this young, so weird to see Sami Zayn and say young. You have this young babyface Sami Zayn who's just fighting and clawing. And you have this dirty, rotten scoundrel heel in Tyler Breeze. And they just work so well together. The chemistry works. Everything just flows with these two. You've got William Regal on commentary. Sadly, you've got Byron there too. But you've got Regal on commentary. You've got Vic. No, not Vic. Tom Phillips. Mm-hmm. Insert random guy here, because Tom Phillips and Vic Joseph might as well be interchangeable. They do the exact same thing. Although I will say William Regal was definitely a step up from Booker T.
I prefer Regal though.
I do too. And by the way, this is the last month we get Regal on commentary. Starting next month, we don't get Regal on commentary, because starting the next time you guys will see us, William Regal will be the commissioner of NXT, because JBL will stop. And we'll have Regal in charge of NXT. Yep. Tyler Breeze wins this. As the dirty, rotten scoundrel heel that he is, he steals the win. Good for him. And it sets up this great Tyler Breeze is a dirty heel, and it continues pushing that Sami can't win the big one. Remember that Sami can't win the big one, because for the next year, that's all we're gonna fucking hear.
Oh my gosh. The funny part about that is that my brother and I use that as a joke so often. And then all of a sudden, like, we could be doing whatever, and then it will say, "You can never win the big one, Sami." And it's one of those things that stuck out to us ever since. And we still do it every now and then. But it's still, I kind of forgot that Tyler won this. And as the match was happening, I was like, dang it, I don't remember who wins this. And it's just like, what I like about it, the point of, like, it makes me like think about it. And then I remembered, I kept thinking, Sami's story is similar to how it is in the main roster. The point of, like, he's that baby face that he keeps losing everything, but he still has the people's support because the people want him to be champion. So that's when I remember towards the end, I was like, oh shoot, Tyler takes it, which is, when you think about it, it's kind of surprising, because you love Sami Zayn and you've seen him so often that when you think of Sami and Tyler, like, Sami has to win it, right? Right? And it's on Sami at the end. But this is one of those matches that it's hard to really highlight anything, because I just loved everything from it. But one thing I do love that I don't think we see very often was that top rope, like, dive that Sami does towards the beginning. I was like, this is another one of those moves, kind of like that turnbuckle DDT that we don't see often anymore either. I just love when he does it, and it's just so incredible to watch it. It's like, dang it, I miss seeing it. But this is, again, one of those, like, it just brings Tyler Breeze to such a different light when you think about it. Because at first I would have been like, I would have never thought of Tyler winning watching it at first. But thinking about that long-term storyline and the way people, it's like Daniel Bryan, people end up falling in love with Sami in such a way that they get attached to him no matter what happens with him. So yeah, we have stories like, you can never win the big one, Sami.
The lovable loser, Sami
Yeah.
Zayn.
Yeah.
We then move on to a batch segment because, all right, one of my pet peeves of this show is the fact that Natalya and Charlotte isn't a big enough match as their own, so we need to bring in Brett. By the way, why do we bring in Brett when we could have just brought in her father, Jim?
Always wonder that. But
You want the answer is because Jim's not big enough star.
yeah, it's not the same.
You have Ric Flair on one side. You need a star as big, if not bigger, than Ric Flair, and the Hart family equivalent to Ric Flair is not Jim the Anvil Neidhart. It's Brett. But I always wondered. I would always, if I ever got to interview Natalya, that would be my first question. Like I know it sounds stupid, but like I wouldn't waste my time with some of the other things. Like there are questions I always want to know about Natalya. And we'll talk about when we get to her match about some of them. But the first thing I'd want to know is, do you ever feel weird when the company continued to have them push that you're a heart, that you're a heart, that you're a heart? But they always wanted to push that you were Brett's niece as opposed to Jim's daughter. Because I loved, like, don't get me wrong, Brett's fine. He's great. He's a star. I was always an HBK guy, so I really don't like Brett. But, like, I loved Jim. I thought Jim was Jim the Anvil Neidhart was fantastic. I loved Jim. And I just wished it would have been more Jim focused than it would have been Natalya focused. Than it would have been. But this is a fantastic shot, so I'm going to bring it up here. The three of them strategizing. There's just something great about seeing Tyson Kidd talk to his mentor, Bret Hart, the man who, he spent years in the dungeon. Because remember, Tyson Kidd for a long time, I don't believe he is no longer, but I believe at one point he was the last student of the Hart family dungeon. And he technically is, because the dungeon doesn't technically teach anybody anymore, because the Harts no longer own the Hart House. For those that don't know, if you go to the Hart House now, you make people really, really mad, because the Harts no longer own it. They don't live there. And they're really, really, really tired of people coming up and asking to see the basement. I know this because I watched Matt Taven go to Alberta and really, really make somebody mad because he wanted to see the basement.
And one thing I also think about with Tyson, though, it's kind of similar to Tyler Breeze in that aspect. Is like, I see him wrestle here and I'm like, I enjoy him so much. But now when I think about him, like now in 2024, I just think more of the contributions he's made to the women's division versus his career, because it feels like I've seen that more than what I've seen in his career, if you think about it that way. So seeing him here, just like, it makes me appreciate and miss him in that aspect of his life. As I remember again watching Total Divas, and just like I felt bad for Natty because all he used to do was watch wrestling even when she was in front of her. And she's like, what do I have to do? Just like Jen and Brian for him to notice? And it's like, well, you may have to, honey, because that's the only way he'll notice you. But I think about that aspect of like every time I see any one of those matches that I enjoy so much, the next day when I look up who's the producer, Tyson Kidd, this happened segment producer Tyson Kidd, and just like I think about now, it's kind of like Fit Finlay, for example. I saw him a while in SmackDown too growing up, but I think more of now of like, his support towards the women versus his career, because that's what I've seen the most. So seeing him here, it just feels kind of odd to me, because I'm used to seeing him, like knowing of him in that backstage kind of part and role rather than his in ring at this point.
So you talk about whether or not how Natty would have to dress. And it's a wonderful segment from Total Divas, and she goes ahead and gets in the dominatrix stuff, try to get his attention. I'm gonna say, based on her Instagram, I think she figured out how to dress. And guess what? I'm gonna show you.
Oh my god! No.
So this is Natalya's Instagram for those that haven't seen it before. And I'm gonna ask a question. If anybody notices, if Natalya has figured out since Total Divas how to get a man's attention. I'm not gonna say anything about it. I'm not gonna make any comments. I just want to know if you think Natty's figured out how to get a man's attention based on her Instagram. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with this. I'm just saying, I think she figured it out.
She got the answer. And another thing too, seeing them physically, like Natty and Charlotte look like such different people as well, physically in itself. If you were to show it to me and not know that, I would have been like, that's not the same person. And again, thinking of like Charlotte, this is a time when they were debating or not whether to like keep her as Ric Flair's daughter, so she's only Charlotte, and not hearing Charlotte Flair feels so odd. At first, I was waiting for that to happen. It's like from the Queen City, Charlotte. I was like, oh, that's it, and it feels so awkward.
Yeah, they were more than happy to tell us she's Ric Flair's daughter, but they weren't sold enough to put the last name on her at the time. Yeah. Before we get to Charlotte versus Natty, because like I said, that was just a backstage segment, and it kind of went off on a rant about it. Yeah. Well, I'm not saying it's a rant. I mean, we're talking pleasantly about Natalya Neidhart and the Hearts in general. We get Rusev, again, not having a match because Rusev can't wrestle wrestling matches on takeovers. He can only go ahead and have... I mean, by the way, he will have a match next month on TakeOver, I believe. The next time we see you guys on Talking TakeOver, I believe Rusev has an actual match. But this time, Mojo Rawley tries to come down to make Rusev shut up, and it doesn't work well for Mr. Mojo Rawley.
Yeah. Very badly. I feel bad.
We get a backstage, we get a vignette segment for the women's championship match where they talk about the tournament. Mm-hmm. And again, it shocks me to think about the fact of the names that were in this tournament that didn't
that were not substitutes.
That were not substitutes. That one that the matches ended in submission. Yes, they were not substitutes. I will never live that one down. That's fine.
No, not anytime soon.
But I mean, like, we're gonna go over it again. Like I said, I went over it last month, but I just want to continue going over this because it still boggles my mind. In a first round match that went 4 minutes, Bayley and Sasha. In a first round match that went 3 minutes and 30 seconds, Layla and Natalya. And remember, I know Layla's at the end of her run here, but Lay Cool was one of the biggest things WWE did during this Divas era of wrestling. Like the Raw Women's Championship and that split belt was one of the most interesting things. Now, granted, the Piggy James stuff is a bad idea. I don't like the Piggy James stuff. But it was a different type of storyline to tell, and it got good support for Mickie James by showing body shaming. I never want to promote body shaming, but I don't necessarily say that it doesn't belong in wrestling, because if it happens in real life, it should be able to happen in wrestling. I feel like wrestling should have some semblance to what happens in real life, and people get body shamed. I get body shamed. Astrid gets body shamed in real life. These things happen. So I'm not opposed to the fact that that angle ever existed. I don't like the fact that at the end of the day, the bad girls won. That's bad. But I don't hate the idea that the angle ever existed. Also in this tournament, in 3 minutes and 8 seconds, Alexa Bliss pinned Alicia Fox. We'll talk about him tomorrow, so I might as well talk like him tonight. Yeah. And then Charlotte beat Emma. Emma, remember, in 3 minutes and 50 seconds here, gets beat by Charlotte. Last time we saw Emma 2 months ago, she was taking Paige to the limit for the championship. So that seems like a bit of a backwards thing, that not knowing what the hell we're talking about. It's just kind of all over the place in this tournament. This entire tournament, let me see here, 4, 7, 11, 15, 20, 23 and a half minutes-ish for the entire women's tournament, not counting the finals. That reminds me of the Queen's Crown.
I was going to say, that's more than the Queen's Crown. I will never live that down. Never.
No. Mind you, the second round matches did take slightly longer than the first round matches because Alexa Bliss got pinned by Charlotte in 5 minutes and 1 second. And Natalya beat Sasha Banks. Again, I repeat, Natalya beat Sasha Banks in 4 minutes and 6 seconds. All of this, the reason why I bring it up, the reason why I talk about it, the reason why I think it's such a big deal is because this match goes 16 minutes and 50 seconds.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I love this match. I think this match is great.
Mm-hmm.
I showed you a line from Justin James's review for the Pro Wrestling Torch about this event. And the final line is, WWE gave a women's match 16 minutes, 17 minutes of time on television. Even more when you count both promo segments, like the video packages, and Paige coming out and cutting a promo before. It goes about 25, maybe 30 minutes of television time on a 2-hour takeover. They gave a lot of time to this. That's more time than they gave to the Divas on Raw and SmackDown during the entire month of May. So NXT was already at the forefront of trying to make women's wrestling important. And at least on the big shows, they get time. They may not get time on NXT on television, but at least when it came to the big shows last month and this month, they've got some decent time to have these matches.
Yeah, and this is why I also, and aside from TNA, this is why I started loving NXT even more and watching it more regularly than the main roster, was mainly because of this. Because I was thinking, these girls are different. They have different characters to them. They're not all blonde like bombshells as they used like say, and they don't even look like a copy paste to them. They all look different, and they all have different backgrounds and different stories to them. And they were given a lot more time. Like little by little, the time kept increasing as it happened. Kind of like, prove yourselves, and we'll give you more time. And they kept doing that. And I can notice the difference between that and then with the TNA as well. I don't remember if it was about the same time, but those were the moments that kept me going to keep watching women's wrestling.
So we'll start before the match. We get Paige coming out with her Divas Championship. The butterfly belt itself is back. It's still as ugly as ever. Not Paige, the belt. Paige is delightful. I love Paige. I think I've talked enough about how much I loved Paige last time, so we're going to ignore that. She cuts a really innocent, decent promo here. It's not great. It's all right. It's pretty good. She says she knows it's corny, but she wants to thank the fans because without them, she wouldn't be in the position she is, where she's Divas Champion, and she had to relinquish the title because of the fact that she's Divas Champion. It's a good promo from Paige. It's completely unnecessary as well.
Well, I think it was necessary in the sense of like, this is after she gets stripped of the title, so she never got to like have like a proper goodbye, because obviously that was just like backstage thing. So this was nice to see in that aspect of like her thanking the fans because she knows her time in NXT is done, and this is probably the last opportunity she has for her to like be grateful for NXT and what it did for her career. At first, I forgot this happened though, and then when I hear her music, I thought she was just gonna sit at ringside and just watch the match and obviously give the championship to whoever wins the match. So it was like I was not expecting that promo there to begin with, but again, I tied it back up to like what I just said with the story, because she only relinquished the title. She never got to like have a proper goodbye in NXT.
Yeah, like I said, I don't hate that it's here.
Oh,
I just it's not good enough to give it the time that it got, but at the same time, it's not offensive enough that I care that it's there. It's a little bit of a middle ground. I also think I want to make note of this fact, because I think we've talked about on Taking Over, we've talked about women and their changes, appearance, and how important it is for women to feel embodied by their own choices and to be able to look the way they want to look. Natalya is a bit thicker. Remember, Paige and Emma were both really, really tiny at this time. And Paige has talked about how she had eating issues when she was in WWE in the beginning. She was forced to try to be as thin as possible. Natalya's a little bit thicker. She's a little bit bustier. This is also Charlotte pre-work. It's no surprise. I'm not breaking any news stories here that Charlotte's had work done. We all know that she missed time to go ahead and have an implant fixed after it got ruptured one night when she was wrestling. This is Charlotte at the beginning. This is Charlotte, and Charlotte's one of those cases from Vince, and you know, I don't want to talk too much about Vince McMahon because we don't want to get down that road. But I think Charlotte's one of the last cases of Vince McMahon. I don't want to say he forced because I have no idea what happened. I was never in that room. But Charlotte didn't have them here in NXT, and when she's on the main roster, she will.
I would say maybe having an influence.
I guarantee the company suggested, because we've heard
probably heavily suggested.
I would imagine more than heavily suggested.
Mm-hmm.
Also, this is Charlotte Flair with the beauty mark. For those that don't remember, this beauty mark will go away. It will be missing. I always forget that she's the girl on the outside of the ring at Ric Flair's final match because she had the beauty mark. And now that you look at her, she doesn't. Her face is perfect and unblemished. But she has that little beauty mark on the corner of her...
This is baby Charlotte, as I say.
It is definitely baby Charlotte. I wish this match was not nearly as much about Ric Flair and Bret on the outside. Commentary goes on almost the entire match, talking about the legacies of the Flairs and the Harts, and how this is going to be a rivalry to go the ages, and how these two are going to be, you know, doing this for decades after this to live that rivalry. I don't think they've ever wrestled again since.
I don't think 101. Maybe multi-matches, multi-person kind of matches, but
they've never had the rivalry that NXT thought they were going to have.
No, and it's like, I get it when you're trying to like get the foundation of like the story of like first it's Rick and then Charlotte, you know, and we have Bret and then Natty, but when you have a 17-20 minute match and that's basically all you hear about, and it's like, are we watching Flair versus Bret here, or we're watching the girls? You know, which one are we watching? Because it's two different matches in that aspect. And I know they're at ringside, but it just causes such a distraction as well. I feel like it takes time away from them because you see them pointing at the ring, but they're pointing at the ring and pointing at them. I was like, is that really necessary to see them like so often? I don't need to see them so often. You know, if something big happens, then I can get, for example, towards the end of the match when Charlotte does a sharpshooter. In that moment, of course, you want to pinpoint to Bret and see his face while she's doing it. But I don't want to see it through the whole match. And it's like, if you have Natty, for example, doing a figure four, of course you're going to want to point the camera at Rick and, you know, her like basically insulting him by doing the move he made famous. You know, moments like that I get. But like having it focus so much on them is the part that I'm like, for example, because in that part when Charlotte does a sharpshooter, they still keep the camera on Charlotte. I'm like, no, this is what I see. I want to see Bret's face, and it takes a while for it to get there. I was like, this is the part where it should have happened. And I would have liked for him to give an expression of like, not frustration, but kind of like anger, like in a way of like, I'm getting mocked because she's doing it and she's a Flair, and you don't see that from him either. I was like, this would have been a good timing for that to happen. Be like, you're doing my move, and then you don't see that either. And it's like, what happened? That's the part that frustrated me.
Bret doesn't want to be here.
No, he just collected a paycheck.
This entire like Rick is on the side. He's cheering. He's yelling. He's counting back. He's doing all the Ric Flair things. And Ric Flair's about almost as awful as Vince McMahon. Let's not get twisted.
No,
but at least Rick is super into it. Bret's like he's yelling things, but like I'm watching this match and Bret's just like,
yeah, he's just there.
He's watching the match.
Yeah,
which is fine. But if he's gonna do that, let him be in the fucking crowd.
Yeah.
At least Jim would have been into this.
And it's just so funny because at the end you see when Rick takes like his shirt off, because you see it over his pants when they all hug each other in the end. I was like, this is when you can tell Ric Flair has done everything he usually does outside. But then Bret is just like, you know, the regular thing is like, this is what I would have done those kind of shots, and that's the only part that I would have done a little bit differently. Show that that frustration from the other family when you're getting mocked, and it's like those are the type of moments that you want to see during this, because you don't know how often you're going to see it. And if you're highlighting here the legacy between both families, then show me those moments. But like aside from that, I'm glad this match got the time it needed, and I would have done even more with it because I really enjoyed it. But like we have moments, for example, where like that abdominal stretch when they switch up from one to the other one, they when they do it, and obviously Charlotte being a Flair missing the moonsault, like that's something we should have expected. And then later on, obviously as the years happen, we get that from her too. But those like kind of moments, and like even my brother always liked it when she won with like bound down to the queen of the natural selection. So when see matches like this, winning the way she did, I know my brother would have enjoyed just watching that ending all over again. So those were the matches that he enjoyed the most.
Natural selection, chef's kiss. I love that. I wish she'd go back to it more often. I by the way, I also hate bow down to the queen. I love the idea of natural selection as a move idea. This match is fine. It's great. These two girls were out there and they wrestle. They legit wrestle. Anybody who thinks of divas in wrestling, like this match, you show them to them, and it's great. I have a question about Natty, and this is a point where I want to bring it up because I don't think we're ever going to get an opportunity to really talk about her again. And I think come the end of this is something from I like Natty. I think Natty's great. WWE has sucked every ounce of usefulness out of Natty that they ever could without giving her anything. WWE has done so little for Natalya Neidhart, and she's done everything and anything they've ever asked of her. And it's a goddamn shame. Now, I'm not sitting here saying Natalya should be a 5-time women's champion. She shouldn't be. But this woman has been here for so long and done all the stupid shit. She did the fart gimmick. She went on Total Divas and made herself look like a sex pervert trying to find a way to get TJ to screw her. Like, it's funny now, like I show off her Instagram and how she's become a more sexualized person and she's using it to boost her image and her self-image. There's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. But remember, she's a heart. Like, she's supposed to be all about the wrestling. She's not anywhere near the top of any list for the most talented women's wrestlers in any era that she's participated in, whether it be now or whether it be the Divas era. And that's a shame because she's the one with TJ, with Fit Finlay, that has been there, with Sarah Amato. Because you can never forget about the work that Sarah Amato put in with a lot of these girls. They made these girls something. Those 4 people have made what we see now on television, what we get now, a reality. And I just wish at the end of the day that Natalya would have more to talk about than, I believe, one Divas Championship reign under her belt.
I think she was either SmackDown or Raw Women's Champion as well. But again, you also think about it. I to continue on to that. I don't want to say argument, but discussion. But thinking about like, she's one of those women that her Guinness World Records is because she's been there probably the longest. Not only that, but you think about like how it feels like they have nothing else for her, that they just give her random partners every single time. If you probably look up how many partners she's had way too many compared to most people. And then if you see like you can even look up on her Twitter, her Instagram, she's always posting videos of people training with her and TJ. We had recently the Finlays where they're training with them as Brogan just got signed with NXT. And you see them and people are like, oh, but why is so-and-so from this company training with her? Because she's from this company. It's because, it's there for the love of wrestling. They just train with each other because they love it. And it's nice to see that camaraderie between the group in there. And the way she's like, oh, I train with this one. I train with that one. Jay was training with them and Liv was training with them. And if you ask all these people, all these ladies, especially now, who is behind them, it's always TJ and Natty as a team. And they're the reason why the girls are where they are. And it's always like, oh, Natty did this for me. Natty did this for me. And it just, I thought about it from this aspect watching this match. Just like, look at what Charlotte has done. And she's not even done wrestling. obviously, because she's still active compared to what Natty has done. And like resume wise, if you think about it, it's like, how come Natty didn't get that treatment that Charlotte did? It's like things like that that make you wonder. It's like Natty could have been the same, amount of times as champion as Charlotte did. But it's just like I feel like they never gave her that moment to like really shine, because whatever they give it to her, it was taken back. It feels like at this point, and it's just like I feel bad for her because every time you see her having kind of a special moment, is because she has with a partner, not because she's by herself doing things for herself. And I don't want to say I feel bad, but it's just the moments of like you don't know you don't know what else to say when it comes to that, because it's just Natty should be given more than what she's had. And it's like I think her work behind the scenes should really be like rewarded in some type of way on screen. And we don't even see that. And it's like sometimes she might be gone for a while, but suddenly she comes back and she has a different partner. I'm like, what happened here? It's like there's so many like plot holes within like those kind of stories. It's just frustrating the way they've treated her, to be honest. Because I don't want to say like I'm a huge Natalya fan or anything like that, but I feel like thinking about legacy wise, there's so many people that have been treated so much better than her, and she's still there. Like she's one of those people, like she's a constant there, and it's like that's incredible to think about, and they still don't treat her how they should.
We talked about this. I went on her Wikipedia and I went to her championships and accomplishments section. I'm going to run down the entirety of this because I think it's so incredibly telling of so many different things, and it's so varied. She was inducted into the Canadian Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame in the class of 2023. She is in the Canadian Wrestling Hall of Fame not once but twice. She's in there by herself, and she's in there as a member of the Hart family. She was the NWA Extreme Canadian Championship Wrestling Women's Champion once. She was given, by Rolling Stone, she was given the title of Most Overdue Title Run of the Year in 2017. Sports Illustrated in 2018 ranked her 11th out of the top 30 female wrestlers. Stampede Wrestling, she was the Stampede Women's Pacific Champion twice, and she was Women's Wrestler of the Year in 2005. In WWE, she's been the WWE Divas Champion one time. She was a SmackDown Women's Champion one time. She was a Women's Tag Team Champion one time. Once. With Tamina. Nobody meaner than Tamina. She was ranked 20th by WWE in the top 50 greatest female superstars of all time. 20th. And that was in 2021. Here are some other things that I think bear note, and it tells you how far and varied this career is and how underutilized she was. In 2011, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, PWI, put out their PWI Female 50. She was 4th. That's impressive. When that same list went out with the PWI Women's 150, 10 years later, she was 66th. She dropped 62 positions in 10 years. In 2021, when she was 66 under the top 50 female wrestlers in the PWI, in their PWI Tag Team 50, she was 28th when she tagged with Tamina. But, I mean, if she wants to hang her hat, she's had the most appearances on a pay-per-view for a female wrestler with 75. She's had the most matches for a female WWE wrestler with 1,514 as of this is recorded, and I guarantee you it's more by now than it was when this page was updated. Most wins by a female WWE wrestler. This number probably hasn't changed a whole lot, and it's 663 because they don't let her win much. Most WWE WrestleMania appearances. I'm assuming this should be for a female because I see this number and I know it's not right, but 8. So they missed the part of for a women's wrestler. Because I guarantee you that Hulk Hogan's been on more than 8 WrestleManias. Most Raw WWE matches, 174. Most SmackDown WWE matches with 200. Again, all of these lists are for females. But that's 6 Guinness World Records. Now, some of them are less accomplished than others. Also, for full disclosure, she was also given the Wrestling Observer's Worst Worked Match of the Year in 2013 when, oh my God, no wonder why this is on this list. Brie Bella, Cameron, Eva Marie, JoJo, and Naomi, and Nikki Bella took on AJ Lee, Oksana, Alicia Fox, Caitlyn, Summer Rae, Tamina Snuka, and Rosa Mendez. I have a question.
Wasn't it Team Total D versus Team Bad and Blonde?
Yeah, I don't know what team she... Oh, she was on with Brie Bella, so she was on the Brie Bella team.
Yeah, Team Total Divas.
Yeah. That's a whole lot of bad names. Oksana. Rosa Mendez. I know you like Rosa. You probably feel like a kid. Okay, I was going to say, because Rosa was awful. Like, I get all for representation, but I'm not going to sit here and fucking lie and say this one was
that one.
Summer Rae. Caitlyn. Like, I adore Caitlyn, but Caitlyn was a bad wrestler.
She was okay. Just like Summer is another one that I really enjoyed. Summer is another one to me that when you think of like the earliest Charlotte's and Sasha's, Summer Rae was behind all that. But think about it now, she's not even there.
I also want to bring this up because I feel like it's important to know. As far as women who go out and do like different forms of media, her page includes a filmography, and it's not great, but let's just go with this for a little bit here. 2013 to 2019, she was on Total Divas as a main cast the entire time. She was involved in she was a guest in 5 episodes from seasons 2 through 4 of Total Bellas from 2017 and 2019. She was also on an episode of Chasing Maria Menounos. She was on episodes of WWE Breaking Ground and Tough Enough. She was on Hollywood Medium. She was a big enough star in 2016 to be on the E-Carpet countdown to the red carpet for the 88th Academy Awards. She was on Carpool Karaoke, Rachel Ray, A Little Late with Lily Singh. She was in a show called Fight Like a Girl. She's taken part in 4 of the episodes of Biography WWE Legends. She was also interviewed for the WWE Rivals series and the WWE Evil series. She's been on Celebrity Family Feud, Wheel of Fortune, WWE's Most Wanted Treasures, and MasterChef Junior. When WWE wants to run out a woman to do publicity and things, again, Natalya seems to always be willing to do whatever it takes. Because I love my television. I don't know what half of those things are.
I was going to say, Fight Like a Girl was some kind of special they did. I forgot entirely what it was about, but I know she wasn't the only one there. But it was more like a campaign they started doing for the ladies as well. But yeah, when it comes to that, like right now, even today, her and Chelsea were there, and they just came back from Saudi Arabia over like I don't know if it was like a week they were there or so to promote I forgot the exhibition that they have over there, whatever it's called. So they literally just went to promote that, and they even mentioned it as they came out. Like Chelsea came out, and they was like, "Oh, she just came back from Saudi Arabia." Da, da. I don't think Natty was in the match tonight, but they still like mentioned it, and you can see in the picture she was with Chelsea around that too. So it's like whenever they need to promote it or anything like that, she's that person there. I became this close. I'm gonna clip this for her later because I want her to owe me the interview because I was this close to interviewing her for the Rumble, and then she ran away from me. No, not from me, but she ran away from the room, and I couldn't interview her. I was like, I was this close. It's like, come on, Natty.
I just, if I got the chance to interview Natalya, the 2 questions I tease this. One would be, do you feel like WWE kind of pigeonholed you by making you more related to your Uncle Brett as opposed to utilizing the connection with your father more than they did? The second question I would ask her is, after all is said and done and everything that you've given to professional wrestling, do you feel like WWE is giving you as much back? And I don't mean that as a slight, because like I said, they love her and they've treated her very well, and they've employed her husband, and we'll talk about more about the great things WWE's done for TJ and the great things TJ's done for them, that they've taken care of him. Because we always hear about the things that WWE doesn't do to take care of their talent. TJ is one of the few shining examples of WWE quietly doing an absolute banger of a job taking care of somebody. This man was injured on their dime in a freak accident. Because TJ's talked about it. He holds no ill will to Samoa Joe. Samoa's done this move ever since for years and years and years. And it's one freak accident that cost TJ his entire career. Mm-hmm. But the idea that just Natalya I feel like there was more. I feel like there should have been more. She was a heart, for Christ's sake. Like, yeah. They use the fact that she's a heart every chance they get. But when it came to giving her the due for putting over everybody else, it always felt like she came out on the losing end. And I wonder if at the end of the day, is she okay being the person who launched all these careers? She's the gatekeeper of the of the women's division in general. Every woman who's a star in this business right now coming through WWE has gone through Natalya at some point. Yep. Is that enough for her legacy in her own mind if she's really on it? And again, if she says yes, that's great, that she feels fulfilled with everything she's done, great. I'll stand by it and I'll say that WWE's done right by her. I just feel like, as an outside observer, I feel like they could have done more for her.
Yeah.
And I feel like she needs a bit of a due. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what they should have done. I don't know what reigns they should erase to have her have the title reigns. It's just it's so interesting that Charlotte is a Flair. And they want to treat Charlotte like a Flair. So Charlotte has, I believe, at the current 10 or 11 championship reigns. Mm-hmm. Natalya has 3 total. If you include tag teams, for 3.
Yeah, and I'm thinking of, like, you know, being one of those people that builds a legacy. It's like, you never even have her win a Rumble, for example, or win a Money in the Bank or anything like that, or even be a main event of WrestleMania before she retires. Anything like that, I think, will be a good way to show a little bit of that token of appreciation for what she's done. And if you watch Total Divas, for example, you know, Nikki and Brie always credit Natty for being that person to, like, really kind of train them and, like, back them up and give them that boost that they needed to be who they are as the Bella Twins. And even people like Eva Maria have mentioned how she trained a little bit with Natty and TJ, and it helped her as well. And even now, you see, if you look, like I said, if you look at her social media, you see Liv Morgan was training with her before her return from an injury. Jade has been training with her. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Ricky Stark was training with them not too long ago with Jade as well. It's like you see the names that are coming through and getting trained by them. They're at the point that you're like, you can credit them for, you know, whatever these people do next because of how they're helping them. And you can see how, like, they're not getting that reward if you think about it, like, especially from Natty's end. But again, this is one of those, like, in a way, it would have been cool for Natty to win it because obviously she's the veteran. You kind of hope that she wins it, but at the same time, as you said, this is like the launching pad towards that black and gold. So obviously they're gonna give it to Charlotte, that new generation, and give her that spotlight to, like, help her grow and have the girls grow with her around the same time.
Yeah, and like I said, this match is great, but just watch it. Like, I don't want to talk about it. I just want you to watch it because, like, we've talked for 20 minutes about how great Natalya is. And I feel like that's something we just deserve to do because Natalya is fantastic. And while she may not have ever been the flashiest or the most talented female wrestler of all time, she is one of the most steady and competent wrestlers. And they've put her in there with everybody and anybody. And I just wish she had a bit more to show for it at the end of the day, other than an incredibly long career with a company that values her to an extent. We move on to the main event, where Mr. Natalya Neidhart, as the crowd would chant him, Natty's husband, TJ, or Tyson Kidd, takes on Adrian Neville. This is a fun match.
Yeah, I really like how we come from having Cesaro as part of the first NXT like live event to being in the crowd here with Christian as well before this happens. Yeah, I enjoy the chemistry between them. I like how in the video package we get that Neville was talking about how Brodus took out his teeth and he had to get them fixed. And then at one point during the match, Tyson gives him such a drop kick in the corner that they're like, "Oh, there goes his teeth, the new ones too." And I think it's fun because around that moment is when you see Neville kind of start to slow down a little bit here and there, up until like when the end happens. And there's moments of like he does so many great moves that I'm like, holy crap, it makes me miss just seeing him on TV, because him being Pac in AEW, I feel like we get moments with him and all of a sudden he's gone. So we had of like, a little back and forth in here, so we don't see him how the way we saw him in NXT. So it makes me miss him in that aspect. There's a moment that he gets caught up in the ropes and Tyson just catches him with like a leg drop, and the way he just sells it, I was like, holy crap, this dude is just incredible. And I miss to see like the Red Arrow, for example, moves like that not a lot of people can do, and the way he makes people feel with every time he does anything. I love how the people are just like, holy crap, the gravity, they forgot this man. They forget this man somehow. And yeah, I miss seeing him in the ring like this. I do hope he returns sometime soon to AEW, because I just want to see like a little glimpse of the person that I just saw during this match.
Yeah, I think I wanted to go in the opposite direction and want to talk about how great Tyson Kidd is. Because of the fact of the injury and how long it's been since he's been in the ring, I think people forget how good of a worker Tyson Kidd is. Tyson Kidd was a total package. He was just too small. He was way too small for WWE. If AEW had been around when Tyson Kidd was doing his thing, he would have been an AEW world champion. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I think he would have been an AEW world champion. He is ultra talented. He can fly. He's charismatic. He gets over the idea of his character in this being an all or nothing thing. I love the idea that he's knows what NXT is exactly. He's like, I don't care about this place. I don't want to be the champion of this place to be the champion of this place. I don't care about you guys. I don't care about the fans here. I don't care about anything. I want to use this to get myself back to Raw and SmackDown where I belong. I'm here as a demotion, and I don't like it, and I want to get back up there. And this is my last chance, so I have to beat you. I'm desperate to beat you so that I can get back to where I belong. I think it's fantastic. I think he does a great job in this match. I think there's nothing he can't do. And his partnership with Cesaro and everything else just was fantastic. For those that don't remember, Tyson Kidd has been part of so many different things, whether it be the Hart Dynasty with Natty and David Hart Smith, the son of the British Bulldog. Whether it be after this, him teaming with various other tag team partners before finally getting to Cesaro and having an instant connection with Cesaro. But of course, all that becomes a moot point on June 29th, 2017. June 1st, 2015, I should say. When Tyson Kidd suffered a spinal cord injury at a house show. Well, actually, it was a dark match for Raw, taking Samoa Joe's Muscle Buster. The move goes wrong. We don't know what went wrong. There's not much footage out there, and even when you look at it, you really can't see what goes wrong. But he drops him on his head. Tyson Kidd has talked about how only 5% of people survive, not recover, not go back to doing what they did. 5% of people survive the injury that he had. He had 16 staples, 4 screws, and a rod inserted into his neck. Dave Meltzer, who's had a really bad week, so we're not going to, but talking about this, Dave Meltzer says it's unbelievable that Tyson Kidd came through this as well as he did. And he noted that most people who get this injury and survive, of those 5%, most of whom are quadriplegics. Most of those people end up living more like Christopher Reeves than Tyson Kidd. WWE announced that he was going to be out for over a year, recovering from this injury. But 2 years after the injury, WWE let him go and moved him to the alumni section on their webpage. However, they hired him as a full-time employee as a producer. Since then, as Ashley mentioned before, Tyson Kidd he's not solely responsible, but he is the primary force along with Fit Finlay for a long time. I don't know if Fit's still there doing this, but I know Tyson is still there doing this. Every Royal Rumble for the women has been produced by Tyson Kidd, along with other people, but primarily done by Tyson Kidd. Tyson Kidd is given most, if not all, of the women's matches to produce. He is incredibly good at helping these women find that inner gear to be able to make a wrestling match something worth watching. And I don't say that as a women's wrestling match. I mean as any wrestling match. Men's match, women's match. He's found a way to make these matches mean something. And since Give Divas a Chance and everything else, he's gotten the opportunity to show off that just because he's not in the ring anymore being the most talented wrestler, he's creating the next crop of most talented wrestlers. He's helping develop people like Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley. All of these women owe in some small part a piece of their career to Tyson Kidd, a piece of their career to Sarah Amato, a piece of their career to Fit Finlay. Because these are the men, and in Sarah's case, women, who helped make sure that all of these women were trained properly and to be able to have banger matches when finally given the opportunity. And I don't feel like these three producers don't often get enough credit for the good things that they did to get these people to where they are. However, Adrian Neville wins this match. It's a fun match. It takes 20 minutes. And I remember how little I enjoy Adrian Neville matches as a babyface. I love Adrian Neville as a heel.
Yeah.
But as a babyface here, he's awful. He has zero charisma. He has zero drive. Like, I'm not invested in anything he does.
For me, it's just like he comes up, like, especially towards the end when they're about to shake hands, and Tyson doesn't shake his hand and just kind of like bumps him. He looks kind of like shy still, even in the spotlight that he's in the middle of that ring. He still feels kind of like quiet and shy in a corner, you know. And I get it. It takes a while for, like, even for me, like, it takes a while for me to come out of my shell. That's why I think Pac, if you think about that aspect, is the opposite of it, because he's grown that confidence there himself, and he sounds so much better as Pac in that aspect, because you can tell he's had the years of experience. But in here, it's just like baby Neville, so it's just like he's just in that part learning of it. But still, it's like it's one of those, like, I just enjoy his performance overall, and that's what makes me miss him. Because I most of I still watch AEW every now and then, but he's one of those people like we currently have missing that. Hopefully he returns soon, but it's like we haven't seen much of him in AEW even with the time he's been there.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't understand what he needs to do to get the eye of the people in AEW other than be healthy, because it seems like it's the one thing he can't do. But all of these shows end with us talking about a lackluster Adrian Neville match and how good the other guy in this match is, but how they it never hit the mark. Thankfully, next month, like I said, we get the Fatal 4-Way match between him, Kid, Breeze, and Sami. And by the way, if anybody can do anything for me, please find the Tyson Kidd promo package that they put together for the Fatal 4-Way match, because it is so good. He's like, you got this guy, you got this person who feels like this, and this. And he lists off all the things of all the other people in the match. And then he goes, And then you've got all three of these guys who are also in the match, and he's talking about himself. And it's just like, oh my God, he's such a great heel. But again, that's for next month, and I can't wait to talk about next month's show, because next month's show is great. I say next month because Astrid is going out for a little vacation, and after tomorrow night's show, we won't be seeing her on our stuff for about a week or so.
Yay!
Tell the good people where you're going.
I'm going to Los Angeles, California.
She's going to be Hollywood Astrid Pizarro. Go ahead and tell people where they can find you when you're not in Los Angeles.
Well, I mean, you can still see me tomorrow on Takeover, taking over. Yeah, we do have a special somebody that's gonna be. I won't say replacing me, but for one night only, with a special message that I'll be playing for Ed tomorrow. So be prepared for that. So yeah, it's gonna be different if you when I see my face on the show and not be able to watch anything. But after that, I won't be here for a whole week. It's gonna feel very odd, but here we go. After that, you can find me on my Twitter and Blue Sky as Astrid Pizarro, and then Instagram and Threads AstridPizarro20. Hopefully tomorrow there's an announcement coming up about some of my stuff. I've been waiting for that to happen for it feels like the longest time. So hopefully tomorrow's the day. Don't quote me on that, but just in case it happens. But other than that, as you saw in the intro earlier, you can still get my shirt for you wear. There's the link and the QR code. As you can see, Mel and Mike are modeling the design. In the middle, obviously, the design itself in the shirt. And if you go back to Debbie Shop, you can scan the QR code, or I also have the link on my Twitter. You can just shop at Debbie Shop like you usually do. The prices and discounts will change for you, or just a little bit goes back to me, which is what covers the Canva that we use for the designs here later on for the thumbnails and the intros and all that good stuff. So most of the graphics that you see are because of my Canva, so it goes back to that as well. But yeah, I won't be here the week after. I'm kind of bummed. I'll be missing a little bit of the chamber because I'm not waking up that early to watch it. Sorry, not sorry. Hopefully I'm enjoying during the day. But you'll get the lovely Ed and Bobby having brunch-ish, I think. But
it's still gonna be breakfast time, sweetie.
Fun. I know, but still, it's about. But by the time it's kind of like over-ish, it'll be like almost around that time.
No, it'll still be breakfast.
Okay, breakfast time for you. Okay.
Chamber starts for 5 a.m. for me. That means the show's going to be over by 9. It's still breakfast. Let's put it this way. Yeah. If it weren't for the Elimination Chamber, I'd still be in bed by the time the post show is going to be over.
But hopefully for the next, I don't want to say the next, is it PLE, I guess, for NXT, we'll hopefully have a guest as well, as we usually have been doing. We're working on that too. So stay tuned for that.
The next premium live event for NXT, obviously taking place at WrestleMania weekend with Stand and Deliver.
That'll be brunch for us.
That will be brunch, yes. That starts at 11 a.m. That will be brunch.
Yes.
As Asher said, you can find me on Twitter at EdFries12584. You can find me on the Twitch at twitch.tv/EdFries2002. I will be having gaming content coming to that platform in the very near future, as we are less than 3 weeks away from the release of WWE 2K24. I'll be making some content on that. I'll be producing my own GM modes. I'm going to look into potentially producing my own universe mode content. We've got 40 years of WrestleMania showcase mode that we got to take care of. And, 2K's just got a lot of good stuff in there that I'm hoping to get into in the near future. But you can also find me tomorrow night, like Asher said, with her as we go ahead, and we're going to be taking over after NXT ends as we get on the road to Roadblock. We got that pesky Roadblock in the middle, but we got Championship Edition tomorrow night. We got Lyra Valkyria defending her title briefly against Shotzi Blackheart before Shotzi gets hurt, and we have Lash Legend taking on Lyra. I'm gonna go ahead and spoil that for the crowd right now. Lash Legend taking on Lyra Valkyria for the NXT Women's Championship tomorrow night. But in more fun news, we definitely going to have a fun one as Lexus King finally gets what's coming to him as he goes one-on-one for the North American Championship with Oba Femi. Oba Feminist Rise!
Yeah, I love his Twitter handle. It's just genius.
I believe that's what it's like.
Nigerian Thanos.
Yeah, Nigerian Thanos. I didn't think that was real. I'll be honest with you. I thought you were screwing with me when you said that was a real one. And then I realized WWE's tagging him in it. I'm like, holy shit, okay, it is official. I know,
Yeah.
but I didn't believe you until I saw WWE tagged him.
Oh my gosh.
And of course, like Ashton said, me and Bobby will be doing the post show very early in the morning for the two of us. It'll be between 8:30 and 9 o'clock when Elimination Chamber ends in Perth, Australia. So we're going to go ahead and enjoy a little bit of breakfast as we go ahead and talk about all the fun things that happened on the Elimination Chamber as we go to the road to WrestleMania. Don't forget, you can also go ahead and catch my appearance on the Ring of Honor show, Honor Ramble, that happened last Friday. You can go ahead and check that out. And make sure you also go ahead and check out my Marvel content. We had Iron Man 2 was briefly talked about. We talked a whole lot more about the other Marvel things that dropped when Deadpool and Wolverine, and we also talked about the Fantastic Four news that dropped that day as well. So we got all kinds of news for that. Stay tuned. We are going to be able to talk in March. We're getting X-Men 97. I am so excited. The trailer dropped for that. Ashton, have you seen the trailer for X-Men 97?
Yes.
Did you
It's
watch
coming out
the
on my
original
birthday.
animated? Did you watch the original animated X-Men?
I don't remember.
Have you
Maybe
watched it
I
on
did. I'm
Disney
not
Plus?
sure.
Okay,
No.
because that theme song is iconic.
I know.
It's
I
such a
love that
great
theme
theme.
song. It comes out on my birthday. So give something for my birthday weekend and watch.
There you
There you
go.
go.
Oh, such a good theme song. But for myself, for Asher Bizarro, this has been Talking Takeover. We will see you guys tomorrow night. Have a great day. Goodbye.
I'm never gonna look back, 'cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast, and that's facts. Only I can make a change, slowly take a step today. I will never be the